the world of Ethereum MEV and validators and bots. We had this story come up today talking about how basically an Ethereum validator was able to swoop in and beat up a bot and earn about $20 million by doing so. I'm going to take a step back and go through the story because it is quite a confusing one, but it's an important one given that a lot of these transactions are now on chain. A lot of the world transactions are increasingly moving to these like really dark foresty parts of the Ethereum ecosystem, and it's good to understand them. So essentially what happened here was an Ethereum validator was able to understand what was going inside of an MEV block. MEV is also termed minor extractable value or maximal extractable value. Basically corresponds to a group of people who are able to order transactions and extract value from people who are sending those transactions on chain. And then that bot or the person behind the MEV is able to earn a little bit of money. In this case, we have two different entities, really, these MEV people, and then we have the validators on the Ethereum ecosystem, which can be sort of thought of as like Bitcoin miners, but just for Ethereum. Typically, these two entities, the MEV operators and the validators, operate differently and distantly. The validators take the work that the MEV operators are putting together, and they publish it on chain, and everyone's happy. But in this instance, we saw something a little bit different, where the Ethereum validator actually went rogue, understood what the MEV operator was doing, and took all the extractable value that the MEV operator was going to publish on chain for themselves, costing the MEV operator about $20 million for a pretty small transaction. So TLDR here is that we might see the rise of some Ethereum validators being a little bit more proactive with how they're going to be publishing things on chain, or at least that's what we're looking at so far. Jen, I'll throw this one over to you. Like I said, it's a confusing story. And like you said before we started talking this morning, you used ChatGPT to understand this a little bit more. So what's your takeaway from this whole story?
Well, my takeaway was that, Will, you did a better job at explaining than ChatGPT. So, you know,
I
one
can't be
for
replaced
the
by
humans.
AI. There we go, baby.
Exactly. There we go. And I guess the second question I have for you is there like this... Is there, well, it sounds to me like there's this like growing war, this anger between from the validators when it comes to these MEV bots. Do you think we're going to see like more, and I am not sure if I should call it malicious, but more malicious validators looking to extract value from these bots? And how do we, like, is it something that needs to be solved? I have so many questions about this, so please explain to me.
Yeah, this is a really fun story because there's like lots of different weird storylines we could follow along, but I think the simple answer is probably not. Most of the time, how these things are constructed, you're going to have some weird edge cases, and this looks like a very weird edge case that cost somebody about $20 million. So an unfortunate edge case, but they do happen in Ethereum. If you've been paying attention to anything with Ethereum, it's financialized, and there's a lot of things going on that cost people a lot of money when they go poorly. In this case, it looks like someone is able to figure out how to use a validator, how to put that validator in line to be able to publish a block, and how they were able to like steal MEV from someone else who's already building it. And typically we don't see those two entities, again, the MEV operator and the validator, working together. In fact, they're supposed to be separated entirely. But whoever this validator was, seemingly, from what we know so far, was able to understand what an MEV operator was doing and steal that information and then make money off of it. If I was to guess what's going to happen with this whole storyline, I would say that there's going to be a change of code on the MEV operator side, so something like this won't happen again. On the validator side, a lot of this stuff is done on the larger level, on the blockchain level. Like, it takes years to see any sort of changes of code in Ethereum, so it takes a lot of work for this to be able to change on the validator side. I think the MEV operators will just get a little smarter and they'll change how they're doing things, and then you won't be able to do this as a validator. And just to note, it's important that these two different groups stay separated. In Bitcoin, they are separated also, right? We don't want miners necessarily controlling the chain, because then you kind of get back to the Visa problem, right? Where a centralized authority can decide how transactions are going to be ordered on chain, and it just becomes a mess. Ben, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I have a question as well. I mean, how much of a problem do you think, the kind of rise of AI and these bots is going to have for situations like this? And is it a common occurrence that we're seeing in Ethereum?
Yeah, great question. AI stuff and Ethereum is definitely something that's going to happen. And we are seeing like the rise of more of these bots that are programmed and then just run into the wild. Oftentimes someone will program a bot, they'll load it up with Ethereum, ETH, and then just set it loose, and it will just keep running and running and running until it just maximizes as much value as it can get off chain, or it runs out of Ethereum. And there's basically two ends there, right? Like the bot is successful, it makes a lot of money, or the bot fails and just dies, and the programmer has to come back, reset the code a little bit, tinker with it, and try to do it again. That being said, all this stuff is very complex, and I think it'll take a while for AI or something like that to be able to pick up the pieces. Oftentimes these bots and these MEV things, they're run in little trade shops by sometimes larger firms, but often by like little trading groups. They're very hard to make, and oftentimes they're not very profitable. You have to be very good at what you're doing on chain in order to earn any sort of money. But we can leave that story there, unless, Jen, you have any more questions about bots and MEV. You're shaking your head, so I'm assuming you're done with it.
I'm done with bots and MEV for now, but we can revisit it another time. So let's just put a pin in it for now.